Are Plato's and Aristotle's philosophy wrapped up in religion and paganism? The earliest centuries of the AD era have come to be known as the Dark Ages of Europe due to the short life expectancy of serfs, the generally illiterate and uneducated status of most citizens, and a lingering confusion in religious identity, having only recently gone from being a province of the Roman Empire to being a subject to the Catholic Papacy instead. As a result, one generation had been largely nomadic Celtic Gauls, and within as few as a half dozen generations later, their descendants would find themselves toiling as farmers and paying heavy taxes to a foreign monarch and steep tithes to an alien church. During this period, the arts of reading and writing were nearly lost among the masses in what constituted the whole of Christendom. It was only through the creation of monastic orders, where priests and probationers would dwell, cloistered away from the world, in monasteries, and attempt to preserve an austere and serene lifestyle, that these secret knowledges were maintained throughout this time. Reading and writing became holy tasks, kept among only the most wise few, and practiced through the fine art of illuminated manuscripts. However, aside from solely scriptural texts, these scribes were also tasked with transcribing copies of texts yet preserved from the ancient world, which we now call the BC era. These works included the works of Plato and Aristotle that the church sanctioned, but also others, such as certain early church fathers who'd been deemed heretical, as well as other ancient authors the papacy considered to have been anti-Christian cults prior to the lifetime of Jesus, such as the works of the school of Pythagoras. Many ancient tomes were lost during this period, but those that were preserved were copiously mass reproduced by hand for the private collections of wealthy aristocrats who could hire private tutors to use these books to instruct their children. The works were usually preserved in their original languages, and so learning to read and write multilingually, usually in Latin and Greek, French, German, and English, was considered an essential aspect of a young aristocrat's education. So, long before the printing press, there were scribal monks. Among the eldest and wisest of them were the few philosophers of the early Christian era, such as Saint Augustine of Hippo, 354 until 430 AD, author of City of God, Saint Francis of Assisi, 1181 until 1226 AD, the monk who communed empathically with all kinds of animals, and ultimately St. Thomas Aquinas, 1225 until 1274, whose Thomism philosophy attempted to synthesize Aristotelian philosophy with the Trinitarian principles of Catholicism. These saints were all Christian apologists, but also Neo-Platonists, who covertly ushered the ancient world's texts we know of yet today through one of the darkest times of Western civilization's history and directly under the noses of church censors.